feel like it's so typical when creators like fix their camera before they actually start. Should really make my bed. Anyway, welcome to my channel. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Exis and this is my channel, Exis Does, featuring me and my wrinkled, tattered Barbie t-shirt. But that's okay, that's fine, it's fine. Today's honorary plushie is the Timon and Pumbaa Squishmallow. I had them in my Ariana Grande video, but I don't even know if I want to like edit that video and post it. I feel like the Nicki v Megan beef like overshadowed that completely, so I don't know. It's hot in here. Hold on a second. It's like February, and for whatever reason, it's just hot. Back in the Northeast, it would still be like below 0 degrees Celsius. I don't know what's in the water down here. It's coming from someone who's been here for about 10 years of her life, so. If you were asking me what I do, I was gonna try and think of something witty to say, but I'm just gonna say what I do and commentary, yeah. The jokes aren't rolling the way they usually do. Right now, I just got my 10K steps in. I'm kind of tired and a little wired, and I'm trying to figure out how to make this fried rice recipe afterwards. So I'm gonna try and zoom through this as fast as I can with my honorary plushies, Timon and Pumbaa. All right. So why are we here today? Why are we in Exis's bedroom? What are we going to talk about? What we're going to actually discuss today is this interesting phenomenon of core culture, all right, or aesthetic culture that has arisen on the internet circa 2020 when we were all inside during the pandemonium. For all of y'all who don't know what core or aesthetics are, I'll pull up the definition. Recalled Philips CPAP machines. Okay, so an aesthetic is a word typically used to describe something aesthetically pleasing or that fits you as a person. However, growing through the use of Tumblr and Instagram, it has soon become slang for it that's so aesthetic. So basically, a certain style, a certain brand of who you are as a person. A close synonym is the word core, and the definition for core is a suffix that can be attached to a genre or a word for one of two reasons: to make a new or find a new subgenre. So for example, 2020s, you're on TikTok. TikTok is in its prime, honey. Dixie and Charlie D'Amelio are doing the most lukewarm choreographed dances to the Renegade, but you're eating it all up. And then you scroll past TikTok and all of a sudden you're seeing something that says e-girl core. And you're like, whoa, what is that? What is e-girl core? And then you start looking into it and you see that it has all of these bold style choices, pleated skirts, graphic t-shirts with long sleeves underneath them, maybe fishnets, creeper shoes. Belle Delphine pops up for some reason and you're like, huh, that's interesting. I want to be into that. I want to be a part of that core. And so you start aligning your personal brand, your outfits, your own aesthetic to that specific genre of style. As we went into the 2020s and to now, TikTok has been notoriously good at showing and sharing all different types of cores, all different types of aesthetics. It's important to also keep in mind that cores aren't just limited to outfits, clothing, also open to the idea of maybe furniture, maybe an environment and or a lifestyle, and that you basically curate your whole entire brand based off of this idea of how you want to be seen or how you want to push yourself or how you want to view yourself. So this right here, right? All of this, including them, not too aesthetic. No, not aesthetic at all. However, if I were to like really decorate it up, like for example, do like a sad millennial beige aesthetic, if I wanted to put more posters in, maybe some LED lights, maybe I want to have like a vaporwave, retro, city pop vibe in my room, now it starts to become more aesthetic. Now it becomes core. Now it's vapor lux or vaporwave core or whatever. What's interesting interesting to me about the trends of cores and aesthetic positives is that it has not only offered people more knowledge into different subgenres, it has also offered people into like really finding out what makes them tick, what they're really into, what their brand is. However, the downside to aesthetics and cores is that it really does play into overconsumption. When talking about overconsumption, allocating things you don't need, collecting things that you don't need, collecting one of too many things. For example, if you have a extensive perfume collection, maybe you do not need 5 or 10 Baccarat Rouge 540s. Maybe you don't need all the perfume Sting Marley perfume. Maybe you don't need all of the Juvia's Place single pan eyeshadow palette, even though I have them. Juvia's Place is awesome. Maybe you're collecting a buttload of Squishmallows, you know? Anything where you're buying too much of something to the point where it's an obsession. I know a lot of people have been having this conversation when it has to do with the Stanley Cup phenomenon, where people are going in and infiltrating Starbucks stores, buying them off of Amazon, anywhere they can find a tumbler just so that they can have access to a Stanley Cup, but not just one Stanley Cup, like 50 Stanley Cups, all in different colors. If you were to ask me if overconsumption is bad or if you should engage in it, I mean, probably not, but I also know that people are human, and I'm kind of in this point in my life that in this day and age, and I've kind of always been like this as I move closer and closer to adulthood, you want to do things that make you happy. You want to do things that bring you joy. And if it's like buying 50 Stanley Cups, that's what truly makes you happy, or having a extensive tumbler collection, or having a plushie collection, or, you know, a bunch of posters in your room, like that's fine. What tends to happen with a lot of these conversations on the internet that start circulating is that people, one, don't really have much else to bring to the table in regards to what else to say about a phenomenon that is sweeping the internet, but two, it's also kind of just like the same talking points over and over again. Like, how many times am I going to look at somebody on the internet say that Stanley Cups are so basic, they're so inauthentic, they're so fake, and you're buying 50 or 60 of them, it's playing into overconsumption, so you should stop doing that. Meanwhile, you're making like a buttload of content for people to consume, perhaps maybe overconsume, and maybe even get distracted in their room or wherever they are from the tasks that they actually have to do. Overconsumption is bad, and it plays a heavy role into capitalism, sure, but also we all engage in some form of it. Like, it's very inescapable. There is no ethical consumption under capitalism. It's a fact, unfortunately. The same people that are on their camera telling you that you need to stop over consuming things were probably using a camera that was made by some kids in a sweatshop in China somewhere, working only 5 cents an hour. So you should do what you do. However, I am going to clock this idea of aesthetics and cores, because something I'm noticing is that with the aesthetics and cores that are on the internet, specifically with like lifestyles and outfits, I'm starting to notice that a lot of people are clinging onto these aesthetics and cores and kind of using them as a way to rebrand themselves or shape their personality. Let's go back before to a simpler time when TikTok wasn't a thing, before Musical.ly even existed, before it was TikTok Junior, before social media was a thing like it is now, maybe in the aughts and in the 2010s, right? So around this time period, what we started to notice with aesthetics and styles is that they had a solid evolution. At the beginning of the decade, things were looking one way. It was at its peak in the middle of the decade, and towards the end, we collectively decided to kind of like close the chapter on that style, close the chapter on that trend. I can't really do the aughts too well since I was a kid, but you know, I can really just do my best from what I have allocated from my research. And by research, I mean like listening to Modern Girls on repeat. But anyway, let me try, okay? So in the early aughts, we were just getting out of like the Y2K era, where we were all nervous about the 2000s and what would happen in the 2000s decade. Y2K, futuristic outfits and trends. And then we started getting into like this McBling era, mid-aughts or so, super gaudy, super over the top. Think Snooki from Jersey Shore, think Britney Spears in her blackout era, think Bratz dolls. I love Bratz dolls. That was peak McBling. If I had to say something about the aughts, what the overall trend of the aughts was, I want to say from like the mid-aughts to the late aughts, we were very much so into like business casual attire for some reason. Like the dudes were wearing fedoras, everyone was wearing a fedora, everyone was wearing a tie, trying to like dress it up or down depending on the occasion. We were really big on business casual, but we had like some outliers like the McBling era where it was just like very gaudy and over the top and superficial. And then as we closed out the aughts, because, and I think this might be due to the recession as well, we started to just kind of stick with business casual, but we kind of started to dial things back a little bit. I would say that's kind of like the trend that was going on in the 2000s, but notice how there was like a solid evolution. One like subgenre kind of weeded its way into another. In the 2010s, the same thing happened, especially with the impact of social media. I want to say we started off with business casual. I also want to say that the economy wasn't horrible. We had just gotten out of a recession and the economy was doing pretty solid. And so now we can consume a lot more things. So I have a theory that like bigger was better back then. So big everything, right? Overconsume this way, that way, makeup collections to the end of time, 50, 60, 70, 80 eyeshadow palettes, hundreds of lipsticks, lip kits from 2010's queen connoisseur herself, Kylie Jenner, you know, brush collections left and right, consuming more and more. We were very much so into flex culture back then, seeing our favorite creators who have started out from humble beginnings on the internet and being able to form very successful and lucrative careers, being able to buy Ferraris, Lamborghinis, convertibles, be in mansions with 10 other people that they don't even know like that and probably don't even like, great content together. It was very lavish, even down to the body types, which trigger warning, we're gonna talk about body. In the aughts, we were very much so into like being super skinny. In the 2010s, we were into like ass, more, consume more. I start with office and business casual with like pops of neon colors, right? Like very loud neon colors that kind of trickle into like EDM music, right? Kanye was wearing those weird shades with the slits in them for whatever reason. LMFAO, think LMFAO, okay? Think that is kind of what we were into in the early 2010s. Like that color palette of whatever LMFAO was doing in their music video, we were into that in the 2010s. Social media is at its peak in the mid 2010s. And when I mean its peak, it's like nobody's super critical of it. We're all just consuming it. And so who were the biggest, most influential individuals at the peak of social media in the mid 2010s? The Kardashians. They were very influential. So whatever they wore, people hopped on. Kanye was married to Kim. Kim was at her peak around this time. BBL minimalism was in. I'm gonna call it that. It was very much so minimalistic. You're wearing a lot of neutrals, nudes, black, grays, olives. However, you were shaped like a boxcar and you were trying to put on a pencil skirt with like a skin tight crop top and some heels. I don't know if the stars were aligning for you, sweetheart. Like it was very specific to the body aesthetics of that time, which was being super curvy, but also it was very specific to a super particular, almost unattainable body type, which was like the BBL. Like not everyone got a dump truck, okay? But that's what the fashion trends were at the time. As we go later into the 2010s, right? People are now getting very critical of social media. People are starting to pinpoint that, maybe these influencers are a little bit more problematic. People are starting to just be critical and aware of the content they're consuming. Why? Miss Pandemonium, okay? She comes into play and we have a lot of time on our hands. We're on the internet more. Not only are we on the internet more, but we're not working. We're not able to work right now. CDC says that we have to stay home. So we're staying home and what are we doing? We're glued to our phones. Not only are we glued to our phones, but we're picking up new hobbies, experimenting with different things. Not all of us want to see Charli D'Amelio hit the Renegade like 50 times over. A lot of us are out here just trying to figure out how to make some artesian bread. A lot of us are trying to figure out who we are as people outside of work because we're not at work anymore. We're at home. And so a lot of us are experimenting with things. And with experimentation comes experimenting with fashion. And here comes the aesthetics and the core. As we went through the aesthetic and core trends, people started consuming these aesthetics, but also disposing of them when it no longer fit whatever they were into. And why might that be? Well, I do think that a lot of our attention spans have dwindled as we've been chronically online more and more. Social media has been in our lives, I want to say, for well over a decade. The issue with the aesthetics and cores right now that we're into is that they don't have a full life cycle in the way other fashion trends of the 2000s and 2010s had. Like I said, there was a solid evolution of like the futuristic Y2K subgenre, the McBling subgenre, kind of trickling into business casual a little bit, all the way into the business casual genre of the late aughts, early 2010s, and then we go into the BBL fashion / minimalism, overconsumption era of the mid 2010s, and then we kind of end it with people just experimenting. I guess we were really experimenting with like early Y2K looks. I feel like a lot of us felt like there was a lot of influence in some of our favorite television shows such as Euphoria, that royal purple two-piece IMG set that Alexa Demai's character Maddie Perez wears. Iconic. Now we're out here buying sets from IMG, really getting into Y2K core, but it didn't stay as long as we'd want it to because people are just picking up on more cores, more aesthetic. People are looking more into like what speaks to them. As people are looking more and more into cores, like I said, people are disposing of them, but also I started to notice a trend where a lot of these aesthetics and cores were literally coming out of like just literally coming out of people's assholes, pulling them out of their ass like a tapeworm. And I've said this before in my other video. There are some aesthetics and cores that literally overlap each other. I think the most dumbfounded like aesthetic that I figured out about this year is between the vanilla girl and the lemon girl, which is basically an aesthetic based off of color. Vanilla girl is, I guess, warm beige Uggs and vanilla pale white colored outfits, and lemon girl is just yellow. Y'all are out here making aesthetics based off of colors, whole cores based off of colors, whole outfits based off of color. You can do that, I guess, but does that really need to be an aesthetic, or is your favorite color just yellow? Your favorite color can just be yellow and you can own a lot of yellow and it doesn't have to be a core, which is one of my concerns because as we consume all of these cores and aesthetics that are on the internet, multiple cores and aesthetic, whether it be vanilla girl, lemon girl, messy French girl, coquette, Y2K, bimbo core, Barbie core, whatever, you can consume all of these things. Probably try not to make it your personality. One of the most prominent aesthetics of the 2020s that kind of stuck, but when I say stuck, like didn't really like, not really because it's dying out right now, is probably the clean girl aesthetic, which I got a lot to say about the clean girl aesthetic. Okay, so when I first heard about the clean girl aesthetic, I was looking in confusion. I was a little confused because something I noticed is a lot of the clean girl aesthetic is what we were doing in the early aughts or late 90s. Like that's just what we were doing. Of course, I wasn't like fully cognizant in the late 90s, but I had a solid childhood through the aughts and we were basically on that time back then. So I thought that was interesting that I got to see my first cyclical fashion trend. However, they rebranded it in a way that was a bit more chic, a bit more commodified, and also a lot more gentrified too. Like, let me expand, okay? What I mean is that when you look at the clean girl aesthetic, okay, and the makeup, we're just gonna stick with the makeup, right? We're not gonna get to the outfits. We'll get to the outfits in a bit. Makeup. Okay, it's very light makeup, no makeup, light foundation, concealer, dewy skin. Now we're doing a shift more on skincare. We're not into heavy makeup or a lot of makeup products anymore. We want to take care of our skin, make sure our skin's clear, and just do that 1, 2, 3 go. Slap on 3 dots of concealer, slap on 3 dots of blush, blend that ish all in, put on some lip gloss, do some mascara, gel up our brows, lay down baby hairs, and go on our day. And oh, more importantly, add some cute gold hoops. When I first saw the makeup trend for the clean girl aesthetic, I immediately had war flashbacks of me and my mom fighting about what type of makeup I need to be wearing that would be age appropriate for a little tween, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old black girl like myself. If you grew up in an ethnic household, all right, that isn't like an aesthetic. What I'm trying to say here is that the clean girl aesthetic as far as makeup goes isn't anything, like that's not a new, like it's not new. Like little ethnic girls have been doing this type of style for years. Our parents, our mothers probably drilled it in our heads wear that type of makeup because it was age appropriate and we didn't want to be seen as fast. That was the go-to makeup staple for a lot of little ethnic girls. So I'm pretty sure like myself and all the other ethnic girls looking at this we were all just like. And also what was even more hilarious to view is that the outfits of the clean girl were interesting to say the least. When I think of clean girl, I think of thrifted cotton button down, sports bra set, maybe you're wearing black leggings with a black sports bra, maybe chunky white socks and a stylish white shoe, whether that be Nike Air Force Ones or I like FIFAs, but dainty gold jewelry, I guess. A lot of muted neutrals in your color palette for your clothing. Very capsule wardrobe heavy, very much relying on the basics and not relying so much on like what's in and what's trending, right? I started realizing that whole fashion trend and that whole aesthetic is very like New Englander old money, and I don't like that fashion trend. Problem with the clean girl aesthetic is that in the same way the minimalistic aesthetic of the 2010s was catering to girls with BBLs because they had the skin tight clothing, not just girls with BBLs but girls with like curvier bodies, it more so catered to a skinnier, smaller body type. I'm gonna be real with you, the clean girl aesthetic had a lot of y'all sitting up here looking like you were about to drop your kids off from soccer practice, go to the nearby farmer's market, pick up some jam, and go home and make some blueberry pie. Bravofication, I'm in my mid-40s right now. Settled down housewife. You had a bunch of 20-something-year-olds wearing it. You had a bunch of, like, even, like, no, I'm a grown woman, right? Women my age wearing it, which I'm sorry, but like I don't want to dress like that, right? I want to dress like I want to dress like a bad bitch, okay? Like, that is just not my thing, right? It just felt weird, right? Outside of it not being accessible to fatter bodies, I know that a lot of that those clothing, it's not flattering to different body types. It's just not. Just in the same way the BBL minimalist aesthetic wasn't really flattering to a lot of body types. Some of the issues I had with it is that it like aged up a lot of people. We're all trying to actively live these lifestyles that age us and make us look way older than we are. It made us look like we were into old money or whatever, or we were gonna go spend a summer in the Southamptons, and it's like, or the East Hamptons, or the Hamptons. Girl, I don't know, you were gonna spend the summer in somebody's Hamptons, okay? Like, not everybody should want to dress that way. To me personally, it just feels like a really boring aesthetic. Like, it just feels boring. Like, you're literally like wearing like men's button-down shirts with bootcut jeans and a sports bra, and that's an outfit now. No, it's not. You just ransacked Goodwill and hoped for the best. Like, come on. It's okay. I've seen people do the style and really kill it. I think Lori Harvey is one of like the bigger like juggernauts that like really made that aesthetic and trend very, very popular within Black women, the Black women spaces. But I don't know. I just realized that the clean girl aesthetic wasn't really for me like that. And I kind of like got out of it, or I'm realizing that that's not really my thing, even though I accidentally got into it. So why are we talking about aesthetics? Why are we talking about cores? Why are we talking about overconsumption? Where am I going on this? Exes, how are you gonna cook? How are you gonna make this work? Okay. Here's the thing. In early 2024, around January, it was deemed that the clean girl aesthetic is officially out and new aesthetics are in. The new aesthetic that is in is apparently the mob wife aesthetic. The mob wife aesthetic is, it's like a weird balance between like chic but low class, dark but a little trashy, where I guess you compare to the old money aesthetic, where it's very much so like you don't know they're wealthy. These are only name brands that the inner circle of wealth knows. Succession, basically, whatever they're wearing. If you want me to talk about Succession and the outfits that they were wearing, okay? Y'all remember that store Sims? If y'all don't know what Sims is, go on a journey with me because I'm gonna explain it. Okay, Sims is basically K&G for women. It's like the men's suit shop, men's warehouse for women. Except instead of selling male suits, they're selling female suits, or suits for women who are entering the workforce who have to look professional at all times. I used to go to Sims a lot with my mother, and you'd go in and there'd be like Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, DKNY, like all of those fashion trends. I was going into Sims when I was like 7 to like 10 years old. No, 7 to like 12. I'm gonna be transparent with y'all. Sims sucked. To this day, if anyone took me to any Sims store, if it even existed, I would like twist up my, like, I hate Sims because it was just so boring. Everything in there was bland and drab, and I guess you knew it was of high quality and it was well-to-do and it was preppy chic and old money chic and everything, or whatever aesthetic, you know, we're all trying to chase now, or the well-to-do higher class we're trying to chase at the time. But whenever I look at Sims and like all of the outfits there, I cringed. It was just so drab and boring and uninteresting. And I'm sorry, I gotta be honest with a lot of y'all, that's what old money gives me. It gives me the Sims department store. DKNY gray tailored pantsuit set that has been knocked down to 40%. Like, that's what it gives. It's so boring and so uninteresting and has nothing else to bring to the table. It doesn't. It just brings neutral colors and a sad existential crisis that you are inevitably going to reach your adulthood and you have to figure out what to do with your life. It does. You know, with the mob wife aesthetic, again, like I said, I guess it's the antithesis to the old money aesthetic, where we're looking a little bit more grittier and edgier. And in my head, I'm thinking, why is this the aesthetic that's popping up? And this core is very much so fetishizing women's pain, showing this romanticized version of wanting to be the arm candy on an affluent gangster. It's not like you're the femme fatale bad side girl who steals all the one-liners in a gangster film, right? It's that you're the arm candy of a gangster. Everybody thinks it looks cute and gorgeous and glamorized when you see Sharon Stone in Casino, when you see Age in The Sopranos, whatever mob wives was trying to do in the 2010s on VH1. Scarface's girl, what is Michelle Pfeiffer's character? Everyone's like, oh, she's so glamorous, all of that. Michelle Pfeiffer's character had a cocaine problem. A lot. Girl, what are you talking about? We want to romanticize that, right? Like, no, we're not doing. Why do you want to be the arm candy of somebody who's a glorified gangster in Armani suits? Just like any other aesthetic and core on TikTok, it overlaps. And that's another problem I have with a lot of cores and aesthetics, is that they tend to like repeat themselves over and over again. I mentioned this in another video in my Time to Stop series. I was talking about how most of these aesthetics are the same. Bimbo core is just McBling Y2K era. Old money looks horrible. Rockstar girlfriend, messy French girl, and the star girl all just overlap with each other. Like they all overlap. And the femme fatale all overlap. Like they're all one thing, all right? Just too much. Why do we have to keep rebranding ourselves over and over again? And now we're entering into like this mob wife aesthetic or mob wife winter, right? And we were flirting with other aesthetics for the winter, right? I saw Slavic Princess like skirt its way in here with that little Slovakian song with the mwah, mwah, chugga chugga. Like I saw those girls on the internet try to do that with the little furry hats, and I guess that's what you want to do. But like mob wife aesthetic ain't it. And you know why? Not just because you're fetishizing women's pain, women who probably had to be lookout for a lot of these their men's horrible decisions. It significantly overlaps the femme fatale aesthetic. Do you not see it? All black, red nail polish, animal print, statement bag. Like it's just the same thing. A fur coat. Listen to the Ray album. That's the aesthetic. Like move into the femme fatale. It does not have to be a mob wife aesthetic. What are you doing? What are you doing? Any aesthetic where you're wearing all black or it looks like a YSL Libre mood board, okay? They're all the same, sweetie. They're just all the same, okay? So why is this one standing out in particular? In the midst of all these aesthetics and cores, in the midst of the clean girl aesthetic, what was another super huge aesthetic and core that came out within the past couple of years or so that like really took off? Barbie core. Yeah, remember that? And I remember when that core just showed up on the map January of 2022 or so. I could be wrong with my dates. I'll put the notes in the bottom. I remember how there were like posters for the Barbie movie that were going around and circulating. I remember that all these celebrities were actively indulging in the Barbie core aesthetic where everybody was wearing hot pink and fuchsia on the red carpet. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why is this trending? Why is this a thing? Why are people into that? And I thought, oh, it's because the Barbie movie's coming out in July 2023. They're helping us get ready to usher in the era of Barbie. If there's one thing you need to learn about the Barbie movie, is that they are a masterclass in genius branding and marketing. Verbalaze and Vibsy Pop, that's cute, sure. but not as smart as the marketing team for Barbiecore. They are amazing at how they were trying to groom an audience and get them ready to be hype for this movie. Because it wasn't just that the Barbiecore trend was taking off. You had memes on Twitter. People were doing fan art of the little, Ryan Gosling, and then all the dudes, like the man's man dudes that were like, Ryan's gonna be in it, we gotta watch it. They had that one meme of the dude with the pink polo shirt and the buff muscles, how I'm about to pull up to the Barbie movie. Like, it was a big deal. It was a cultural phenomenon. It also leveraged social media in a way to get people hype about the movie, to get people talking about the movie, to get asses in the seats at the movie. And I think that's something that a lot of these other big blockbuster movies are failing to do, is that they're not figuring out how to leverage social media in a way to get people to watch their show, to watch their content, to watch their movies. And so you're spending hundreds upon millions of dollars on these movies, right? Nobody's seeing them because nobody knows about. Did you know that Indiana Jones came out last year? Do you know if any younger millennials or Gen Z are actually checking for Indiana Jones like that? What I'm trying to say when I'm tying Barbiecore into the Barbie movie is that it did groom its audience into getting ready to usher in this era of Barbie. They were really trying to bring in more people to see the movie and be hype about the movie, wear all pink. It'd be like a moment similar to how we had moments from Marvel movies. I personally think that with the mob wife aesthetic, the reason why it's becoming super popular, I have a theory that this year is going to be the year where we're gonna start seeing more antagonistic, criminal, scammy women in media, which, girl, I love me a good scammy woman. I do. And I love me a good gangster film. I do. However, like I said, I do not think that we should be aestheticizing the mob, right? Like, nobody wants to sit up here and aestheticize gangsters that are in the hood right now, whether they be Black, Latino, any of that. Nobody aestheticizes that. They see them as criminals and horrendous people, but for some reason, because it's a bunch of Italians and, Gucci, Armani suits now, they're so badass. No, they're not. They're not badass. They're criminals, sweetie. They're criminals. Stop it. Stop trying to make fetch happen. The mob wife aesthetic isn't just like a trend that people just want to hang on to because they want to do something so stark and different and antagonistic to the old money clean girl aesthetic we've been seeing. But I also think it's because, for example, Griselda, right? Great show. I love those shows. But you can see a lot of what Sofia Vergara's character, starring as the lead actress, she is wearing a lot of those mob wife aesthetic clothing, like the zebra print shirt, somewhat gaudy jewelry, like pants set, came into new money, but not so loud about it. Yeah, we're wealthy, but you don't need to know how I make this money. Just know I got it like that. And I think in the next upcoming months or so, we're gonna see more of that content. If not more of that content, maybe like a blockbuster leading up to it. But keep in mind that a lot of these aesthetics, trends, and cores don't happen by coincidence. A lot of them have like an agenda behind them. Mostly it's because they want you to consume more and more items. They want you to create a brand off of your life. They want you to create a lifestyle off of your life. I would almost dare to say they want you to base your whole personality, versions of your personality, around this life. You're a clean girl. You go to the juicing shop and you probably buy yourself a ginger shot before you go to your 12 p.m. Pilates class. And then afterwards you buy Drunk Elephant at Sephora. And you see most of that content on the internet and you're like, ooh, I want to do that. I want to be a soft girl. I want to be a clean girl. It crosses into your actual lifestyle. And that can be dangerous because, first of all, y'all shouldn't be wanting to be mob wives. Shouldn't want to be wives of thugs. I'm just being honest with you. But second of all, clothes and outfits and attire, they're items. They're not who you are as a person. You have to find your personality outside of that. You look at these people and they're wearing these outfits and they're trying on these clothes and you're just like, oh wow, their life is just so aesthetic and core and everything just fits together so perfectly. And that's not how their life actually is in real life. It's telling you a vision for you to look at on your phone and be like, oh wow, I wish I could do that one day. I wish I could be like that. What outfits is she wearing so that I can be more coquette, so that I can be more clean girl, so that I can be more mob wife? The TikTok girlies that you see doing those outfits, like a lot of them aren't dressing like that like every single day. A lot of them aren't like cutely laying out their clothes every single day. I love that people are so committed to their fashion, and I love that people are so committed to their aesthetics. I do love that, and I love that we do have different aesthetics to look at to kind of curate our own. But I also think we have to be aware that fashion isn't our personality. We need to go and find other things that make us more whole. Maybe get a hobby, maybe do some reading, maybe join a community. Cores that we see on the internet, that we see on TikTok, they're awesome to look at, they're awesome to see. It's meant to be consumed first, aestheticized second. It's meant to be an aestheticized version of somebody's life that probably isn't what really happens in their everyday lifestyle, and that's okay. The takeaway from this video is I'm not saying that we shouldn't indulge heavily in cores and aesthetics, but I do think that we need to figure out what makes us happy, what piece of clothing makes us happy, what looks make us feel good. We shouldn't rely so much on like the rigid guidelines of aesthetics and cores, even though they're very cool to see. Maybe we should just figure out who we are as people and what our personalities are outside of what we see on TikTok, outside of what we see on the internet, like outside of what we just see on a daily basis. That is the end of my video. We can find out more about ourselves, find out who we are as people if we are engaged in like things that better us as individuals, that help us expand our minds, that help us think about things differently than just like buying a bunch of all black outfits off of Shein and Aritzia, like a fake Louis Vuitton bag, and saying that we're, you know, mob wives. We don't gotta do that. That's the end of my video. Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all like the mob wife aesthetic? Do you not? Any Italians here? I don't know if there's like Italian folks that watch my content. How do y'all feel about the mob wife aesthetic? Because I hear a lot of Italians are just like annoyed. Let me know how you feel in the comments. Let me know if you think that the mob wife aesthetic is cute, if it's fun, if you think it's harmful. Let me know. I think that's the end of my video. Oh, disclaimer, I'm about to hit 500 subscribers. So anybody who made it to the end of this video, if y'all would like to like and subscribe, but mostly subscribe, you know, I want to be monetized this year. So be sure to like and subscribe, please. Don't forget to drink water. I want banana bread. Yeah, I'm gonna get myself some banana bread after this. Bye, guys.